So I will now call on our first speaker for this rest of the morning session before we go on lunch break. So let me introduce to you Warwick Schmitz. Sorry about that. He's the director for skilled care. Warwick is the founder of the Lionhouse Group, which includes skilled care, at the helm of his pioneering workforce solutions that innovatively combine recruitment and education models to meet the complex needs of today's key industries. Join me in welcoming Warwick.
Thank you.
And in order for you guys to gain or collect more points, can we flash on screen the QR code for skilled care? So feel free to scan the QR code.
Well, hello everyone. I'm not great at staying in one place, so I walk around a bit. I look forward to sharing with you now a little bit of a personal story to open things. Not so much the very wise proverbs that a couple of our speakers earlier this morning had. Something a little lighter, just starting on, it has a moral to it. It is related, but it probably doesn't have the same virtues that those proverbs had this morning. This Mother's Day just passed. I agreed. I thought I was providing a gift to my wife, my two teenage sons and I, to go to the Sunday craft markets. And so that's not something I generally do, but I think her hope was to have me celebrate.
All right, we're going to go old school.
Might have a hot mic somewhere else. The goal was to support her in finding knickknacks and other items, that clothing bargains and things that she had. But as we left the car and started to walk towards the market, my boys and I got distracted by the alluring smell of cooking donuts, and we kind of parted ways. And I was permitted to line up with my boys for the donuts, whilst my wife went her way, and I promised her I'd catch up, and we did, and we're still married and things are good. But when I was standing in line for the donuts, it was a company that had some clever marketing, and my eldest son pointed out, "Hey Dad, look at these donuts, they're 100% calorie free at the centre," right? And so of course there's no such thing as calorie free donuts, I don't think, so there's the joke, but there's also nothing at the centre, right? My background is I own a group of companies, and Skilled Care is one of those companies that's an industry solution designed specifically for aged care predominantly, where we integrate recruitment and training. Now, I'm not going to talk to you a lot about our products. I want to add value to you. What I want to do is probably burst the lid, if you like, or take the lid off the training industry and help you understand them, so that you can be better informed and empowered to work with your trainees, work with your training companies and the industry, and have the confidence to do so in a way that benefits you. At the moment, it really only benefits the training organisations. This also plays in to some opportunities that you have that I don't think the industry is very aware of. Only some aged care employers are taking advantage of. And so I want to give you today the confidence to be able to engage in that space. And so that's my outcome. One of the things that training organisations like to do in this industry is provide you with free employees. Has anybody had a call from an RTO saying, "We've got trainee students, we'd like to give you free labour"? Yeah? Yeah, we've all had that? Okay. I think it fits in the category of the calorie-free donuts, okay? I think that at the end of it, there's very little value, but there is hidden calories. It adds to the cost of your operations, and it only really serves the purpose, majority of the time, of the RTO. Now, to understand why RTOs do this, you have to understand how an RTO makes money. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes for that, and just, again, giving you the information to empower you. So an RTO has 4 ways to make money. The first is by accessing a student group called, or international students. International students make up, now all the statistics I'm going to quote for you are specific to aged care and home care combined, okay? So they're not generalised data. I included home care because I know many of you are diversifying into that if you're not already established into that as well. That's quite relevant. International students in this sector are 6% of the market, a very small cohort. They are generally here for, they're generally fee paying, and they pay a lot of money normally, a lot higher than everybody else. That's because their motivation to do that qualification is really to enter the country. All right, that's the reality. Their motivation isn't necessarily to engage in a career in the care space. So, you know, it's just on the priority skills shortage list. So and so they're studying it. And their actual goal is to take as long as time as possible to finish that qualification, but not necessarily work in the space. So when you give them free hours, that's great, but you're not necessarily going to find somebody that's invested in the industry. Now, there are people out there, there's a percentage that are very genuine, but I'm just talking, you know, on things you should be aware of. The second category is what's called domestic fee-paying students. So Australian citizens and residents, and we like to extend that to New Zealanders as well. That's another topic. And that's 34% of the market. Now, domestic fee-paying students, very interesting. Normally, on average, this cohort are the most engaged, very, very genuine. However, when you're paying for your education, you want to find, typically, given the demographic of people entering these job roles, the lowest possible training course. Everybody identify with that? Now, that means if you're paying, and I'll give you a number, you can go onto Google now and you'll find Certificate 3 individual support courses for $9.99. And if you wait to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you'll get them for $5.99. They simply flick a link out to the student when they pay their course fee, and then they get to a certain point in their online material. It's just basically self-paced, and then they send them out to you, and you train them for them. All right. So, what's the value in that? They just got $9.99 for pretty much doing nothing, and you are loaded up with your operations staff are asked to fill out and complete heavy logbook assessments. Yeah, I've been seeing so many nods of heads, right? And everybody gets slowed down for you investing in their 120 hours, right? And you hope that they're going to end up working for you and you've got free recruitment. But don't be under any illusion or delusion that you got them for free. You paid, you invested in them and did their training for them. Did I knock that off? Or? I can stand at the lectern. I just have a habit of hitting the mic and doing awkward things. That's all right. Is that good? Oh. front of my face is the problem. Is that, do I need to turn that on? Hello? I can probably shout. Mic 3. I just might bellow, and when it works, it works. How's that sound? All right. Can you all hear me okay if I bellow? Acoustics are pretty good. All right. So where was I? So that's domestic fee paying students. The next category is the largest category, which is pre-employment funding for, which is state-based funding, so it changes for each state. I'm just holding this in case it starts to work. I'm not mad, all right? Well, I'm mad, but yeah. So this is 54% of the industry. 54% of the industry is funded by state governments investing in the workforce development for the sector. Okay, these students there are some of these students that come from domestic fee paying who become eligible for some reason or are able to find a provider that will take them on who were going to pay $9.99 for a course, okay? And they're able to access funding. So there is a portion of them that are very genuine. However, there is a very, very significant portion of these, and I'm telling you this with some authority because, as I said, I've consulted 2 RTOs. Sorry, I didn't say that, but in one of our companies, we are consultants to the training sector, and we consult on a commercial basis, teaching them how to make money that are failing, right? And so I'd speak with some authority on this, that this group, the way they access these students is mainly through job active networks. They use brokers and people who take large commissions, and they're looking predominantly for people who are unemployed with high barriers to entry into the workforce. The case managers for the job active networks are enthusiastic to provide people on unemployment benefits to participate because those job active providers are on KPIs, and when those people are in training, and they want the training to go for as long as possible, Certificate 3 in individual support requires you 120 hours, so they know they're going to be in training for a long time. It means it improves their KPI, which is this or this. Good. We know that it improves their KPI, and it improves their, and it comes off their workload, so they don't have less people for workload. So this is I feel like I'm really loud. I'm good. Yeah. Use the handheld? I'm good. Okay, all right. So these group of people, when they come to you and they're doing the 120 hours, their engagement, their quality of, the quantity of the strength of their intrinsic motivation to care for people is not necessarily consistent with what you're expecting. Does it make sense? Yeah? And I'm trying to be kind there, but that is the largest portion. It's no wonder that only 34% of people who commence their qualification finish. And after they commence their qualification, even fewer, continue on after 3 months to remain in the industry. So it's not a particularly successful model. And just going back on that, that means, and RTOs are paid between, depending on the state, between $5,000 and $9,000 to give people an online portal, sit them in a classroom for a few days, and then send them to you to train. It's not a great deal. All right? There is another part of how an RTO makes money, which is only 4%. So only 4% of the industry engaged, and in my experience across meeting with a lot of aged care providers, there's only a very small number of you who are embracing that pathway, and that's the traineeship pathway. And I know there's lots of barriers and reasons for that, but I believe it's the biggest opportunity for you. And I've got a couple of case studies to refer to in a little bit. This is the traineeship pathway is a model that the employer is paid, and it depends on the state because there is a state component and a federal component. But in New South Wales, an example, the employer can receive to probably about $8,000. Not only that, the trainee themselves will receive, if they're full-time, $1,750 every 6 months. The government pays them an extra bonus. And then at 18 months and 24 months, gives them $850. If they're part-time, that halves, right? Those value halves, but there's still significant financial incentives. So the employee, or the person entering the workforce, and the employer are better off by far. But RTOs aren't telling you about it because it's actually a higher cost model. It's a model where they're required to come into your workplace and train in your facilities and do more work, okay? So it's a higher cost model. It suits the industry to have you do all the work for them. Does what I'm saying resonating with people? Some nods, yeah? Okay. The next thing to talk about is the motivation for this 4% group. And I'm going to give you some real real people. The traineeship model allows you to access a different part, let me articulate that better. It allows you to access a different category of job seekers. It allows you to access job seekers who otherwise don't have the financial resources or time to go and complete their qualification on their own, out of their own time and money. So I'll give you an example. A girl by the name of, now I've got to remember her name. Mel, in the Gold Coast. She's a 23-year-old bartender who's sowed her wild oats and is done with that. But she doesn't have the financial resources. She needs to work. She lives by herself. But she grew up looking after her Down syndrome brother. Right? Who would like to have Mel apply for work for them? Yeah, right? Chris, 28-year-old truck driver in Goulburn, New South Wales, grew up looking after his mother with multiple sclerosis. Looks a bit gruff on the outside, had a truck accident, right? Recovered from that, but had a rethink of what's important in life. Who'd like to talk to Chris? Yeah, all right. Narissa in Newcastle, New South Wales. Oh, I'm back on. Narissa is a law student, first-year law student at Newcastle University. Narissa grew up looking after her mum, who's been blind since she was 5, looking for part-time work. Wants to be a human rights lawyer. Who wants to talk to Narissa? Right. These people need employment guaranteed in order to transition to the industry. And that's the missing link that traineeships provide that these other models of training and engaging with your RTOs don't provide. You're required to commit to employment in order to engage, but it allows you to access people who otherwise, under their own steam, won't apply. So how do we access these people? Because unless they apply for jobs, you'll never be able to meet them, correct? Okay. And they know that because they don't have their qualification or they haven't got any experience, you're unlikely to employ them. You'll send them off to an RTO, go do your qualification, then come back to us. That's generally, I'm not talking about everybody, that's generally how the industry seems to work. What we've done, and you guys can do something similar, we have quite a long investment into developing the profiles of the type of people that have high empathy. So what we do over time is we build in each area, we build a candidate pool who we nurture. So through social media and so forth, if somebody's liking Cancer Council or somebody's liking something else, we know that they've got a degree of empathy. So then what we do is we have ads that pop up and stalk them. We've all been victims of, you know, of social media stalking. And they apply and they register with us. And then we nurture them. They come in on a spectrum, right? Now you guys can do the same thing. They come in on a spectrum. They come in from 1 to 10. 10 being, basically I'm applying for a job on Seek. I'm ready to go, right? Then they come on the other end of the spectrum. They're, I'm thinking about this. I've thought about this. It somewhat interests me. But then we need to nurture their journey until they're ready. So people ask us, well, why do you have so many candidates ready to go? What are you doing different? It's because I've been investing for a long time, right, and nurturing these people until they're ready. So when an opportunity comes up, we work with a new employer, and this is where I'll go into a case study. Infinite Care, who I think we've got Luke over here next door to me, chairing that group, the CEO. So we have been working with them as a case study in Tweed and in Central Coast in New South Wales. We're working with 2 locations who are under workforce distress and high cost, and Luke's okay with me sharing this, so I'm not breaking industry confidentiality or anything like that, are under different levels of workforce pressure, high dependency on agency staff and overtime, so there's a direct financial cost there, but also in the particular case that I'm going to talk about in Tweed, had care standard issues and some cultural issues. So what we did is we did a group intake of 8 trainees, and we trained them for 3 weeks, block training, in the Tweed facility, and we slowly, over the 3 weeks, introduced them to different care, different exposures to the job role in care. Because what's not spoken about is the fact that working in these job roles requires a high degree of emotional capacity and maturity. You don't get a kid that's 17 or 18 straight into the workforce, or into a care role, working with naked bodies, morbidities and other issues that are confronting and hard to work with, and expect them to have the maturity to be sustained in that industry. Now, it may be that some people have a high degree of empathy and maturity because of their personal circumstances to be able to do that, but generally not. So what we did is we introduced them to the various care things, and by the time you get to week 2, they're showering and assisting with showering and things like that, and they come back from that and they debrief. And then what we did for 3 weeks after that, we sent them on buddy shifts, and then we come back about once every 8 weeks and we have a catch up for a day or 2 until they finish their qualification over 12 months. That, in the words of the care managers and the facility manager, has been the biggest breakthrough they've had since taking over that facility and improving care standards. The biggest difference that they've had since the new management team was installed. And it's been at a great, literally the emotional, that team in talking about the difference that these teams had. And every one of them, 34% of people normally complete these qualifications. Every one of those people, I think we're at month 9 or 8 or something like that now, are still there, every one of them. So that's a bit of a, I'm sort of running a little bit low on time now, and I just wanted to, I've got, this topic can go as wide or as narrow as we want to choose it. I was trying to, my goal today was to empower you with knowledge on how the sector works and how you can break through for volume recruitment and work with your RTOs better. We're great at it, more than happy to talk to you all, but you're empowered to be able to have those conversations now yourself. Do we have time for any questions or later?
We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I've done traineeships when I worked in residential services.
Yes.
Works great.
Yep.
Much more difficult in the home care sector because,
Yep.
as you said, the onus then sits that we have someone because they're not an extra workforce as people see them. So having to release people to be able to support them, things like that. So have you got any tips and tricks there? Because we have touched base with quite a few RTOs and they just don't have an answer.
So we've got probably our largest portion of our business is supporting home care clients. It comes down to how a transformation or a change in what the RTO is prepared to do, because it's a lower margin training product for them. So it costs the RTO more to support that. It also requires them to understand their compliance against the qualification standards better than just their standard training material. So the training material needs to be adjusted for your particular home care model and the way you deliver. The way we deliver home care is between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Everyone comes in groups, so after the AM and PM shifts, between the AM and PM shifts, and they come in, and we sometimes hire community halls and things like that in different areas if there's not an office space, because there often isn't a training venue within home care. And we just sort of do groups of 5 to 10 in a group between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on whatever frequency over however long we decide that needs to be. And then the trainer, we work on an observational process, which is RIP, which I won't talk about publicly and put on recording, but we work on an observational process to overcome that process. Of a lot of RTOs will say we don't do that because we can't meet our assessment requirements. That's because their assessments are written for aged care and not customised to home care.
And medications we're finding are a huge one of that.
Yeah, and so
Because it's too hard to assess.
but it's possible. We do it. We include it in our standard product. Yeah, it's possible. They just don't want to. Who's second?
I just want to focus on the debrief part.
On the what side?
Your debrief, the debrief that you have with your students or your
Yes.
traineeships. Is it? Do you have it as a group? And if it's not, whether it's a group or individually, is it structured or is it a free flow session?
No, what we use foundational subjects that we've brought through the training, and we use that as an opportunity to do reflective learning. So we structure the debrief and counselling, if you like, of anything that they've seen, that the experience that's been confronting for them as they go through that personal growth. We use the framework of our education to use as reflective learning to overcome that. For example, we like to start with communication and diversity units, and then as the trainees start to work in start to go out, first contact with residents is at mealtime, lunchtime, right? So then the second time they go and do it, after they've finished their diversity and communication units, the reflective learning is, how did you apply? Can you observe from the training material? And this is something you can't get from online learning. It's something you can't get from simulated in classroom environments, right? You have to experience it and then apply that reflective learning. The result is you get carers who will actually increase the standard of care within your facilities and not just do what everybody else is doing. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Warwick. And if you have any additional questions, you can catch up with Warwick later during the breaks and networking sessions. So their booth is just right outside the exhibition hall. Let's give a round of applause for Warwick. Thank you.